a quiz. Raise your hand only if your answer to the question is yes. Do you prefer dark chocolate over milk chocolate? Okay. Do you prefer a cozy cottage over a modern fifth-floor apartment? Okay. Do you first see a duck and not a rabbit in this image? Apparently, if you feed all your answers to these questions and similar questions into some complicated computer algorithm, you'll discover all these interesting tidbits about yourself, like who your celebrity soulmate is, what type of dessert you are, whether you're a pessimist or an optimist. You might even retake the quiz and tweak your answers a bit to see if you can get a better outcome. For instance, say you were taking the sorting hat quiz, and it told you that you belonged in the house of Slytherin. You might think to yourself, wait a second, am I really as evil as he who must not be named? It's interesting just how much weight we give to these labels, whether they come from personality tests, sorting hats, or just the language we use to describe ourselves. This is important because ultimately, how you see yourself affects how you act. For instance, if you were to label yourself a change maker, you would be more likely to read the news and think about issues in the world. Okay, enough about hypotheticals, and let's talk about my story. When I was younger, I loved to label myself as shy. The term was seen in a positive light to me. After all, I preferred simplicity alone, reading my books, picking my flowers, and just staying at home all by myself. My personality test results showed me that I was an introvert, but I was determined to make myself that ideal introvert and shape my personality such that I fit every single nook and cranny of the label. This behavior became detrimental to me. As soon I started to dislike public speaking and, in consequence, sharing my ideas to the world. For a while, I was unmotivated to change. But clearly, since I'm standing up here right now, for the second time in fact, clearly I've gotten over that little box I made for myself so many years ago. How, you might ask? Well, one day I woke up, flung open the curtains to my room, and let the bright sun shine upon my face, and I screamed outside my window, "I hate being an introvert!" Actually, no, that is not what happened. Unfortunately, life does not follow the standard story plot diagram, and I achieved no climax. Instead, what happened was I realized that there were so many things that I wanted to do that were outside of this trait I had given myself. I wanted to talk to random people and learn about their diverse backgrounds. I wanted to share my love for numbers without sounding like a stereotypical math nerd. I wanted to make jokes and make people laugh, just like how stand-up comedians do. I knew I could talk to people because I had friends. I knew I could share my passion for numbers. In fact, let's go. Did you know a number is divisible by 9 when the sum of its digits is a multiple of 9? A number is divisible by 11 when the difference between the alternating digit sums is a multiple of 11. And there's something really cool about the monstrous number 196,883. It has to do with a concept called monstrous moonshine that links together two seemingly different fields of mathematics. Okay, enough ramble. You get the point. I also knew that I could make people laugh because hopefully you're either internally or externally smiling because of my talk. To balance all these different aspects of myself, I needed to throw away that misshapen bubble wrap I had let myself be enclosed in. So here I am. I'm not exactly an introvert or an extrovert. I'm just me. If I had never thrown away this label of shy, I wouldn't even be standing up here right now. How many of these labels do we just accept without questioning? What generalizations have you made about yourself that might be holding you back right now? We assume these things about ourselves, about others, about the world, just because they seem like they're true. But what if they aren't? What if we're the counterexamples to the very things we think that define ourselves? Counterexamples in general are very important. They are able to reverse the norm when it's not a ground truth. Think about Albert Einstein, who was labeled as a poor student, but then he went on to become one of the most groundbreaking scientists of the 20th century. Or Rosa Parks, who everyone just assumed was another Black passenger who would acquiesce to Jim Crow laws. But she ended up defying expectations by becoming one of the most leading members of the civil rights movement. All these influential figures sought to become counterexamples to what others simply accepted or lived with. To illustrate this point further, I'm going to talk about a mathematical counterexample. In mathematics, we really like rules and patterns until a counterexample comes and forces us to rethink everything, but in a good way. So there's this notion of prime factorization. Basically, it means that every number can be written as the product of smaller numbers until these smaller numbers can't be decomposed any further. These small numbers are called primes. So in the positive integers, primes are like 2, 3, 5, and 7, and so on. Now, numbers like 10 have a prime factorization of 2 times 5, and then 24 has a prime factorization of 2 cubed times 3. So there's something interesting about prime factorization, though, here. 2 times 5 is the only way we can decompose 10, meaning that prime factorization is unique here. So let's investigate this property in other domains. Let's investigate the Gaussian integers. Okay, the Gaussian integers are numbers of the form a plus b times I, where a and b are integers, and I is the square root of -1. Unique prime factorization also holds in this domain. See, for example, -1 plus 3i equals 1 plus 2i times 1 plus I. And that's the only way we can decompose this number. And this holds for all numbers in the domain. So, wow, we have 2 domains that have unique prime factorization. Surely it holds for every domain, right? Now, unfortunately, we come across this nifty counterexample called z adjoins square root of -5. Yes, it is a mouthful, but it's basically just the Gaussian integers, but instead of I, we use square root of -5. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a second, my algebra teacher told me I can never take a square root of a negative number. Well, why didn't you actually try to take a square root of a negative number? If you had, you would have found this counterexample. But I digress. So, as you can tell, as I foreshadowed, unique prime factorization does not hold in this domain. Take the number 6. 6 equals 3 times 2, but it also equals 1 plus square root of -5 times 1 minus square root of -5. If you don't see how we got that second expression, you can try foiling out, like expanding it. So these both are valid prime factorizations of 6. So it shows that this domain doesn't satisfy unique prime factorization. There are actually a lot of domains out there in higher math that don't satisfy unique prime factorization, and they play a major role. So although this counterexample kind of made us uncomfortable because we couldn't take this pretty property from the integers and put it into other domains, it opened up a lot of pathways for us to continue to explore. Talking about a mathematical counterexample in my TED Talk is likely a counterexample itself for how a TED Talk should be structured. Now, onto your real life. You can use a counterexample to free yourself from a generalization that might be trapping you, keeping you hostage in your current state. So, next time a personality quiz tells you that you're 71% extrovert or that your personality type is chocolate lava cake, remember, you are more than that. There will be aspects of you that will serve as counterexamples to these labels. And searching for those counterexamples is what makes you powerful, changing the way you see yourself and how you ultimately act. So embrace every single aspect of yourself. Go out there and just be who you are with all your normalities and abnormalities. Thank you.